What's up, people? Welcome to another Fwoosh video review. This time we're going to be taking a look at Fansproject's Lost Exo Realm Columpio with Drepan. I think it's pronounced Drepan, I'm not exactly sure. That's what I'm going with. This is Fansproject's take on the Transformers Dinobot Sludge. And it seems that 2014, everybody and their brother is rushing to produce the Dinobots. Hasbro, Takara, and just about every third-party team are just cranking out Dinobots. Well, Hasbro's at least cranking out some Grimlocks and some movie Dinobots, but this is Fansproject's take on the G1 Sludge. So, this box, let's just take a look at the box real quick here. This sucker is big. It's a much bigger box than I was expecting to get. It's almost the size of a Masterpiece box. So what's cool about this is that there is a flap here. You can flip that open and you can see Columpio and all of his accessories, sword, gun, everything that he comes with. I like this kind of box, even though this isn't a figure you're ever going to see on the store shelves. So I mean, it's cool to get a look at it, but by the time you see this, you've already bought it. So I mean, it's a neat gesture, but in some sense it kind of defeats the purpose. So keep it tuned here. We're going to get this guy opened up in just a second here, and we're going to see what Columpio is all about. Thanks for tuning in. And here is Columpio out of his packaging. Now, first impressions here, I like him, but there's the but. I really want to like him more than I do. And this is just how I often feel about Fansproject's figures. They're so close, and this guy is so close to everything I want in a Dinobot, in a modern Dinobot figure. There are just some areas where it just misses, and those areas tend to stick out in my mind when I look at him more than maybe they should. So that aside, let's just get a good look at him here. Now, I mean, this is it looks like Sludge. There's no denying this is representative of the Transformers Dinobot Sludge. It definitely is. We've got the classic Dinobot colors, the silver, the chromy silver, the gold, and the red. And it's interesting that it looks like there's two tones of silver here. If you look at his two legs, the colors don't match. That's one of those things, I mean, no big deal, but the more I look at it, the more I fixate on it, and the more it bothers me. I would prefer that they actually matched. The feet placement, these become his feet in his robot mode. I don't really get what the heck is going on here. It almost looks like vents here or something. I just wish there was some way to integrate them into the design of the figure better, because I mean, he has a nice line here. It looks good, but then this is just so disruptive to the overall design. It does bug me, but I'm sure there's a good reason for it. Underside, there's not like a happy robot smiling at you. He does have a legit full transformation. I like the way they did the dino neck here, the way it's segmented. It's very posable. You can get all kinds of range of motion out of it. And the jaw does open and close too, but mine is tight. And it doesn't want to really do it without a fight. His tail here looks to have a similar segmentation to the neck, but that's just the way it's designed. It doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't move at all. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Yeah, if we get the all-around look here. I mean, he looks, I like his robot mode. He looks good. And he's got these peg holes around here so you can like store his weapons. Like he has this thing that becomes a blaster. And it can be like, plugged into his shoulders, supposedly. Now his legs, his dino legs, are a little bit loose. And you can't really do anything with his feet. I mean, his legs are posable. They're all on ball joints and whatnot. But he's got a joint here that this eventually becomes his robot arm, but there's no joints back here or anything, so you're not going to get his Dino Mode in any kind of athletic poses. And then he's got a sword here too, and that can also basically be inserted into his shoulder, so you know he's like some kind of heavily armored rampaging dinosaur now, or something like that. Now, the feet can be flipped around, and they peg together this way. They don't peg together the other way, they peg together this way. And it leaves quite a large gap in there. And his little companion, Drepan, or whatever he's called, can sort of be inserted in there. If you flip up these things on his legs, like this, he can kind of, sort of stand in there, which I guess is what he's supposed to do. I guess it's not like the most super elegant thing in the world, but it kind of works. Now, before I get into Columpio further, let's take a look at Drepan here. Let me get him back to his transformation. I'm just going to take Columpio out of the shot. I'm going to put him down, and let's see if we can get him better in focus here. Kitties are in the area, you can tell because there's cat hair everywhere. This, again, this is another case. This is like my feelings about Columpio, but like amplified. Meaning I want to like it. I really, really want to be satisfied with this figure, but I'm just not. There's some things where, in fact, let's just get to it. I'm not going to allude to it. I'm just going to, let's just take a look at this thing right here. Okay, this is his robot mode. This is how this has to sit. There's no way to integrate this better, more fluidly into his design. It's just this awful, protruding, huge thing that sticks out his back. And it's just really terrible. Just really, really terrible. Like, I honestly hate it. Like, I really hate it. I mean, images, like, the promo images we saw, he looked kind of cool, but I guess I either didn't notice or didn't miss this little feature here. It's because this peg here, this peg totally hinders any kind of movement we get with that thing. So, I mean, that aside, he has some decent articulation. He's got a double elbow. He's got good shoulder movement. He can do some, you know, wide splits. And his head turns. So, I mean, that's not bad. And he's about the size of one of the current Legends class Transformers. In fact, let me grab one of those real quick. Here's Bumblebee. Well, I mean, okay, so maybe he's not the same size as that, because Bumblebee is kind of dwarfing him here. But it's, you know, sort of close, I guess. Now, he does transform as well, which would explain this mountain of awful kibble we have here. And it's interesting. It looks like a dino head or something there. It kind of almost looks like Grimlock, the handle there. And there's another one, like right here on this thing. And this can come up on its own and fold up over his regular head, and it kind of gives him like a dino mask or something. Like, I don't know what the deal is here. So let's just get him transformed. Listen to me, I'm like, ugh, let's just do it, let's just get it over with. It's really not all that bad. It's just, again, like, I want to like him more than I do. So once we got his face covered up by this thing, we fold his arms up like this, and then bring them both up over his head. And there are pegs that peg into a little hole. So that gives him kind of some, like a secure base. And then his legs fold in like this, or swivel in rather, just like this. And then simultaneously you fold them up and you fold this out, the outer portion, up and out. And then those kind of lock in like this. And that gives us a space to move out these blades. So now we've got these killer blade things. He also comes with his own weapons, a little shield and a little axe that he can hold in his hands, and those can be put together like this, and then they clip on here as such. and it just gives us, like, he becomes this killer death axe of doom, which, I mean, it's kind of clunky, it's kind of uneven, but it looks a whole hell of a lot better than that robot mode, I think. So if I keep him displayed, and I may or may not, because I mean he's really heavy. Like, this is a heavy weapon, and I'm anticipating problems from the robot mode, from Columpio's robot mode, being able to support this thing. But we'll see. But this is the way I would keep him, because I dislike his robot mode so much. So let's get Columpio back in the frame here, and we're going to get him transformed now. It's his turn. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the weapons, and I've only done this like once or twice, so I'm trying to do this from memory. I'm not totally 100% sure of the transformation. I've had a heck of a time getting him from robot to Dino mode and back, because some panels just don't want to snap together, fit together the way they should, so that's been a source of frustration too. But the first thing we want to do, and I want to make sure I keep this guy in frame. I have this amazing ability to do the transformation totally out of the shot, so I'm going to work really hard to not do that this time. This back portion separates. It's kind of scary the first time you do it. It makes a loud sound, and I swear to God, I thought I broke it, but that's what you got to do. And then you split this whole back section apart. Okay. Then here, his legs, there's a double knee joint, and we got to move this whole part of the tail out of the way in order to straighten that out. And when we do that, we take the gold portion of the tail, the bottom part, fold that up in, rotate this whole section. There's a pin right here that fits into a hole on the inside of the leg, like that. Okay. So we can take his foot, flip it around. Now this robot leg, again, there's a peg right here that fits into a little space on the inside of the robot leg, and then that flips around, and that's basically his leg. That's pretty much it. Then we got to do that whole process again over here. Let's see here. Straighten out the leg, flip that in, rotate that around, and get that pin in there. Flip the foot down, the dino leg pegs in, the foot flips back. And that's pretty much the lower half of his body already. And I'm just going to call attention to this right now. I mean, it looks good from the front, and the original G1 Sludge figure had some pretty clunky legs, but this is insane. There's so much, I mean, the dino legs don't integrate in any way that's kind of elegant or fluid, and I don't know, I got some issues with the legs here. But let's get the rest of him transformed. The rest of him is pretty easy. I mean, these dino legs clearly form his robot arms, but before we get there, we got to open this up on his back and then fold in these little wing portions. Okay. And then the whole dino head neck contraption apparatus just folds down just like that. Okay, now we can get his arms done. They just kind of fold down like that. We flip the dino feet over, and then that opens up a little compartment where his robot hands are. Okay. And he's got a lot of articulation, but I'm not sure it's a good thing, because he's real fiddly and it's hard keeping him still. So all we got left to do is his head. And to do that, this little chest piece opens up a little bit, just enough to free up the head. And I'm doing this with absolutely no fingernails, if you hadn't noticed. There we go. And then there's two pegs here that slot into that same chest piece. And there we go. There we have Columpio in his full robot mode. Let me get him posed here. God, why does it feel like he's gonna fall over? Anyway, there he is. And he looks pretty good. I think he does look good. I like the way his robot mode looks. Mostly. I do. It's mainly the blue here. The blue integrated with the red, this whole chest piece and his robot head. I really like this area, and I think that's what sold me on him originally. Let's get a close-up of that, actually. Let's get a close-up here. Yeah, all of this looks pretty cool. And there's his robot face. Not too bad. He's got that stoic kind of mean-looking Dinobot face that I like them all to have. The metallic blues are just super, super sharp. I really like them in contrast with the red and the gray. They just look awesome on his shoulders, like wherever that metallic blue appears. And in terms of articulation, I mean, he is a well-articulated figure. He is. He's got, you know, ball joint shoulders. They got a good range of motion. There's a bicep swivel. That's pretty handy. His hands don't swivel, but they do open. So we'll get his weapons in there in just a second. He's got ball hips, but his legs here, of course, are so flippin' heavy that they can't really support anything. I might have to do something to even tighten those things up if I keep him in robot mode at all. And I'm thinking I'm not gonna. But for just straight up a turnaround here, I mean, he looks straight on, just straight on like this, he looks cool. From any other angle, the illusion kind of falls apart. He's got so much crap hanging off his back. It makes him so, and here he goes, he doesn't even want to stand anymore. It makes him so back heavy. There's just so much stuff. These wings, the dino head, those dino legs on his feet. God, I'm having a real hard time keeping him standing. His hips aren't super loose, but they're loose enough where they're like an issue here. So, like, again, like, I really want to like this figure, but there's just enough about him that's just missing the mark, that it's just bothering me. He's a good size, too. He's a little bit larger than the Fall of Cybertron Grimlock figure, which is kind of cool to see. I like that he's larger. It gives me hope for the other Dinobots that are coming out in this series. And let me grab Masterpiece Prowl really quick. And let's swap him and Grimlock out. And he's a good deal larger than Prowl. That's pretty awesome. I think they scale pretty well together. I mean, the Dinobots probably should be a lot bigger than Prowl, but this is doing it for me. Now, the reason I went with the Fansproject Dinobots here, this is the only third-party Dinobot I currently own. We're currently in what seems like the Dinobot Gold Rush. Like, there's like 9 versions of these guys coming out. I really like the way Fansproject reimagined his design here. Mostly from the pictures that I saw. In actuality, having the figure in hand, I'm just kind of like, oh, God. Why couldn't it have been as good as I thought it was going to be? His head turns too. I should have pointed that out. I'm just at a loss here. There is good here. There's a lot here that's good, but then there's a lot here that is just frustrating. And for what the average third-party Transformer figure, what the average Fansproject Transformer figure costs, like, I feel like I shouldn't have these frustrations. There's stuff here like I wouldn't really put up with on a $20 retail level Hasbro Voyager. Or maybe I'd be more willing to put up with it that way. But like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this guy. The next 2 Dinobots that are coming in the series, Slag and Swoop, they both look really awesome too, but who knows? Maybe I'll have the same issues with them that I do with this guy. Okay, I'm going to stop projecting negative things in the future. Not going to do that. What I'm going to do is what I usually do, and that is focus on the positive here. When I just look at him straight on like this, I like him. I think he's really cool looking. I could see myself displaying him on a shelf like this, but he does take up some space due to his weapons, and let's get to the weapons now. So again, he's got hands that open and close here, so he can wield some stuff. Like, and that looks kind of cool. He looks pretty cool holding the giant killer axe thing that his little buddy Drepan turns into. That's not bad. And the gun here, the blade flips around, and he's got a little handle that comes down like this, so he can hold this in this hand too. So he comes packing some weaponry, which is kind of cool. And if you don't want to have him holding the huge axe of doom, if maybe you want to have Drepan in his robot mode, you can just throw this sword in his hand, and that totally works too. Not bad. Not bad at all. So I mean, I like that he comes with cool weapons. I just really wish that he was as cool in person as he is in the promo images. In the promo images, they have him in all kinds of crazy action poses that I just can't see him being able to do because his center of balance is so weird because of these giant freaking feet. Just giant feet that weigh so much. So let's get this guy back in his Dino mode, and we're going to do some more comparisons here. Okay, so here's Columpio back in his Dino mode, and I didn't feel like putting you all through that. I mean, again, it was easier this time getting him back into Dino mode than it was before, so I guess that's a good thing. But here he is with Masterpiece, with Masterpiece Grimlock, big ol' Masterpiece Grimlock, and I mean, there's definitely a size variance here. Grimlock is definitely larger, but I don't think the scale here is too awful. And what's kind of funny is that when I look at them together through my viewfinder here, they don't look that great together. But when I'm looking at them just, here in the real world in person, I don't mind the size difference. Columpio is definitely not intended to be displayed as a Masterpiece figure. He's not a Masterpiece scale figure at all. He's intended to go in a classics display, more or less. But I don't think this is awful. I don't. Fansproject does have their own version of Grimlock coming soon, so we'll see how that compares. But I mean, for now, this is my default dinosaur mode Grimlock, so this is probably how they're going to be displayed, at least for now. And I don't mind it. I really don't. I'm pretty pleased with Columpio's scale here. And I am probably going to leave him in his dinosaur mode just because it's less aggravation. The robot mode is a little bit floppy, a little bit more floppy than I like. But I'm pretty happy with the Dino mode. So that is Columpio by Fansproject, third-party transforming robotic dinosaur figure. So let us know what you think. Leave a comment below. Subscribe to FooshTube here on YouTube. Check us out on our message boards. Leave a comment there maybe. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you real soon.